So I did it. Reluctantly, I placed the Starfield Premium Edition, because I need the early access for the channel, for a shameful $100 in my Steam shopping cart. I never paid that much money for a video game, and my first thought when clicking the purchase button was, well baby, you better live up to all the hype. The game had an interesting appreciation arc, to say the least, after the first rather, let's say, underwhelming for not getting demonetized initial gameplay trailer to the I am the second coming of Christ, now legendary developer showcase, like a No Man's Sky redemption arc even before the game has released. Sorry if I sound a little harsher than usual, but I just had to spend 100 quid, which leaves me a bit agitated. And don't get me wrong, I really want Starfield to be everything it claims to be, but you know, Bethesda. They already taught us some painful lessons of what kind of quality level you can expect from their games on release. And by all means, it could be a genre-defining game of a decade, merging different game types into one behemoth of a game, if it does not turn out to be shallow as a puddle. I think my two major concerns at this point are quality of the game in terms of performance, bugs, level of polish, and how deep and well implemented all the different game systems truly are. With several delays under its belt and Microsoft in a desperate need for a reason to own an Xbox at all after the Redfall disaster earlier this year, my hopes are that they really know they cannot afford to fail in this department. I think they would have delayed the game again after looking at Redfall and realizing they cannot repeat such an inexcusable state of the game at launch for an Xbox and PC exclusive half of the planet is waiting for. I also don't expect a flawless game here. It is Bethesda after all, and I am also willing to give them some credit for executing such a huge and vast concept and thus accepting some minor bugs or performance issues at launch. So my hope is they know how everybody is focused on this final hope for the current Xbox generation, and Phil Spencer would have pulled the plug personally before greenlighting this title in a Redfall-like quality. My other biggest concern is that the game turns out to be very shallow, with all these ambitious concepts merging together into one game. No Man's Sky is the perfect example to explain this. It is a survival, story-filled space shooter, trading, crafting, base building, exploration game in an endless galaxy. And to achieve this merging of different game concepts, nearly all of these games within the game are very shallow. No Man's Sky is like a huge, vast ocean filled with ankle-deep water. I like the game, it is the perfect relax and easy to play time killer. But space combat, for example, is bare bones. Ship classes hardly matter or bring unique abilities to the table. It is miles away from an Everspace 2 level of combat, and that applies to most of its systems. There are a lot of things you can do, but engaging with those systems will let you realize those are also very basic, pretty and doing the job, but also rather simple, which doesn't have to be a bad thing if you are looking for a nice and chill game. Starfield is a story-driven RPG, space combat, first and third person shooter, vast open world exploration base building game. I think we need a new term for games like these, maybe total simulation or complete simulation games that cover most possible activities in a given scenario. And to its credit, Starfield will release into a full game, something a tech demo like Star Citizen will never achieve. You know why the beloved Freelancer finally was released? Because Chris Roberts was finally removed from the game, as it was on its way to become the first Star Citizen-like never-ending project. In recent interviews, Todd Howard, the hidden grandmaster of overselling products, stated that only 100 of the 1000 planets in Starfield that you can visit are populated. And while I don't doubt that Bethesda can deliver on the RPG side of things, it makes me wonder how shallow these other systems might be in the end. Although Baldur's Gate 3 just raised the bar significantly of what a high-quality RPG with excellent voice acting while also being a huge game can be. The Fallout games have, for example, never been great shooter games in my opinion, and coming from playing Remnant 2 a lot, I am concerned how washed out and wobbly the shooting in Starfield might be. The presented weapons seem fun and diverse, but that is worth nothing if the execution of the shooting mechanics are flawed. The game engine is in the end only an improved version of the Fallout 4 engine, and I do like the jetpack, but nailing the controls for an additional movement level in a hectic combat situation is not an easy task. How a shooter looks and how it feels to play are two completely different things, so let's hope they really improved in this department. 1000 planets is more than fine, but so is No Man's Sky's endless universe, and every planet there is just a slightly different version of a not so deep pool of possibilities after a while. Is every planet just one biome or small landing spot? There are no vehicles or systems to traverse big distances on the ground in place. This indicates that the areas we can explore are maybe not that huge and more like confined, smaller instances, like the space pockets in Everspace 2, only on the planet's surface. Again, nothing wrong with it if it is executed nicely, but far from a full planet you can explore, even more so on uninhabited planets. How samey will those planets, biomes and creatures look and feel, or will we get really distinct planets with various biomes? Space combat with this insane shipbuilding system looks just jaw-dropping awesome, but how do the controls work? Can I expect an Everspace 2 level of combat or more a No Man's Sky or a full simulation like Elite Dangerous? I love space shooters, but how the controls are executed and the combat plays out is much more important than how pretty it looks. I once was very excited for Rebel Galaxy 2, only to be turned off immediately how the controls in space worked. You had this weird hold a button and the ship will follow its target and adjust speed function that killed the whole experience for me. So will we get just some basic pew pew and sluggish ship controls? A whole simulation with a full handbook of controls you have to learn? Or more an arcadey but tight system with deep tactical options? For the base building and spaceship customization I'm far less worried. The question here is more how meaning and impactful they are. Is it worth engaging with the base building functions, maybe unlocking and grinding towards a perfect base, only for it to have a rather minor functionality? Is designing your perfect ship worth it, or will it have merely an impact on space combat like the classes in No Man's Sky? You see, even if the system itself is super fun and nicely made, does it serve a purpose, or is it implemented in a good way into the rest of the gameplay loop? This is what makes these complete simulation games so difficult, and I doubt few companies will ever be able to put out a game of this kind that is vast and of high quality. It is like developing 5 to 6 games at once and then gluing them together into a single cohesive and enjoyable experience. Most will have to go with very basic systems like No Man's Sky, or never finish like Star Citizen. So mad respect if Bethesda is able to pull this off and can really define this genre for the next years. Not many studios will have the manpower and budget to create such a monster of a game in the near future. I wish for nothing more than Starfield to be the next Skyrim-like milestone and setting a new standard for those total simulation games. And they certainly have sold us with a broad chest that this game is not just some shallow systems smashed on each other and flung together with some duct tape. So they better live up to the standards and expectations they created. Let's see if Todd Howard proves to be more than just a good salesman and if Bethesda can deliver on its promises. I am the first who sends him a bunch of flowers and gives him a heartfelt hug if the game lives up to its expectations. What do you guys think about Starfield so close to its release? Did you pre-order the game? Let us know in the comments. And if you are interested in more content, guides and stuff like that for Starfield, then stay tuned to the channel. For now, this is all. Take good care of yourself and fly safe.